Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Chris, I apologize to you.
A lot of people go, Chris, how come you didn't do nothing back? Because I got parents. That's why. Because I was raised. And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people.
Will Smith didn't step into Hollywood as a joke. He stormed in as a sure thing. For almost 20 years, his name alone guaranteed success. When studios saw Will Smith on a poster, they didn't see risk. They saw money, charm, and a blockbuster waiting to happen. He wasn't just a star. He was a walking insurance policy for box office gold. By the late 90s and early 2000s, Will had the industry in a chokehold, cashing checks that soared past $30 million per film. That kind of dominance didn't come by luck. It came from strategy. Smith cracked the Hollywood code early. He studied movie stars like athletes study game footage, breaking down every move, every reaction, every laugh that got a crowd going. He kept it clean, stayed far from scandals, skipped the profanity, and made sure nobody ever had a reason to turn on him. His image was built for everyone. Kids adored him, parents approved of him, and audiences around the world couldn't get enough. In a business known for chaos, Will Smith became the definition of reliability. Film after film, he gave fans that comforting formula: explosions, danger, aliens, spies, or end-of-the-world madness. And yet, through it all, his presence promised one thing: it's gonna be okay by the final scene. Even when critics rolled their eyes, audiences kept buying tickets. Studios didn't care about awards. They cared about that first weekend's numbers, and Will delivered them again and again like clockwork. But behind that unstoppable smile was another story. Will wasn't just selling blockbusters, he was selling himself. The charming hero, the loyal husband, the clean-cut professional who never slipped, even when Hollywood around him was full of chaos and broken stars. While others fell apart, Will stood tall, spotless, and untouchable, or so it seemed. Will Smith built himself up as the picture of control, calm, disciplined, untouchable. He wasn't just another celebrity caught in the Hollywood storm, he was the eye of it. By the mid-2000s, that spotless image had become just as valuable as his acting chops. He wasn't only a movie star anymore, he was a brand powered by charm, emotional openness, and a confidence that made fans feel like they knew him. People didn't just go see his movies, they cheered for him as a person. Hollywood ate that up. The industry adored how perfectly polished he was, and Will knew exactly how rare that level of trust really was. He guarded it carefully, building his reputation like a fortress. That's why when the cracks started to show, it hit everyone like a shockwave. It wasn't the typical Hollywood meltdown. No mugshots, no scandals, no wild headlines at first. The breakdown crept in quietly, then suddenly, and finally exploded all at once right in front of the world. By the night of the 2022 Academy Awards, the pressure had been brewing for years. That slap didn't come out of nowhere. It carried years of frustration, pride, and tension. It was the breaking point of a public image stretched way too thin, and the moment the world saw the man behind the mask lose control for the very first time. To really understand why that slap rocked the world the way it did, you've got to rewind about 6 years earlier to another Oscars night that quietly set the whole thing in motion. Back in 2016, Will Smith and Jada made headlines when they publicly boycotted the Academy Awards, calling out the lack of diversity among the nominees. It wasn't just a protest, it became a spark that lit up a massive conversation across Hollywood about inclusion, power, and race. But that same night, something else happened that planted a different kind of seed. Chris Rock, who was hosting the show, addressed the boycott with jokes that hit harder than they seemed. He framed it less like a serious stand for equality and more like a case of sour grapes, and the audience laughed. The room moved on, but the sting didn't fade for Will or Jada. It lingered quietly, tucked away, waiting for the right or wrong moment to resurface. Fast forward to March 27, 2022, the biggest night of Will Smith's career. He was just hours away from finally winning his first Oscar, the ultimate payoff for decades of staying clean, polished, and professional. The vibe in the room was light and celebratory, cameras rolling, millions watching live. Then Chris Rock walked out again, this time to present an award, doing what hosts always do, crack jokes. One line, though, changed everything. A joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head drew laughter from the crowd. Even Will laughed at first, but Jada's face said it all. She wasn't amused, not one bit. Within seconds, Will's laughter vanished. He stood up, walked straight to the stage, and smacked Chris Rock across the face. The crowd went silent. Nobody knew if it was a bit or a real-life meltdown. Seconds later, it was clear. From his seat, Will shouted for Rock to keep his wife's name out of his mouth. The audio cut, but the internet didn't. The world exploded in real time. What should have been the biggest night of Will Smith's career turned into one of the wildest, most jaw-dropping moments ever seen on live TV. Just minutes after that slap, Will had to walk right back up on the same stage, this time to accept his very first Oscar. His voice shook, his eyes filled with tears, and his apology came out tangled, part regret, part justification. He called it protection, called it love, called it a reaction to pressure. But no matter how he framed it, the world had already made it up its mind. That slap didn't just land on Chris Rock, it hit the very image Will had spent decades protecting. The perfect gentleman, the disciplined star, the man who kept his cool no matter what, that all cracked in one swing. Overnight, the story flipped from triumph to chaos. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences wasted no time condemning the moment. And this wasn't some PR slap on the wrist, it was serious.
I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
My wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
After internal meetings and endless public outrage, the Academy dropped the hammer. Will Smith was banned from attending the Oscars or any Academy event for 10 long years. For someone who had built his entire career chasing Hollywood's approval, that exile cut deep. Desperate to regain control, Smith moved fast. He resigned from the Academy before they could finish their punishment, calling it an act of accountability. But no matter how fast he tried to fix it, the damage was already done. Will Smith tried to patch things up fast, first with written apologies, then with emotional videos aimed at fans, colleagues, and eventually Chris Rock himself. He told the world he was ready to talk privately whenever Rock was ready, his words calm, polished, and full of regret. But by then, it was too late. The public had already made up its mind, and forgiveness wasn't coming easy. Behind the scenes, the fallout hit hard. Projects went on pause, some got quietly canceled, and studio execs started whispering, was Will Smith still worth the risk? Suddenly, the man who once guaranteed box office gold had become a gamble. In Hollywood, image is everything, and his had taken a serious hit. Even people who'd worked with him for years began stepping back, not out of hate, but out of fear. The same industry that used to shape itself around him now stood at a distance, watching to see if he'd ever bounce back. What made the whole situation sting even more was how deeply it clashed with everything Will stood for. His entire brand was built on control, emotional, professional, and moral. That one slap showed the exact opposite: raw emotion, zero restraint, and a public loss of composure for the world to see. It wasn't just shocking, it was a betrayal of the very image he'd spent decades perfecting. And the cruelest twist, that Oscar win, the one moment that should have been his ultimate triumph, became chained to the controversy forever. What should have been a symbol of validation turned into a permanent reminder of the night everything changed. From that moment on, every apology sounded like an excuse, and every bit of silence felt like guilt. The Academy's 10-year ban might have been the official punishment, but the real sentence was the loss of cultural respect, and that's a kind of damage money or fame can't fix. Once the public turns on you, it's nearly impossible to win them back, especially when millions watched your downfall play out live on screen. To most people, the slap seemed like a random outburst, but to those who'd been paying attention, it looked like the final crack in a wall that had been breaking for years. Behind the perfect smiles and red carpets, Will Smith's marriage, once praised as one of Hollywood's strongest, had been taking heavy hits under a ruthless spotlight. What made it all so different wasn't that problems existed, every relationship has them, but how publicly those problems were discussed. The real storm hit when singer August Alsina dropped a bombshell. He claimed he had been romantically involved with Jada Pinkett Smith. That was wild enough, but what really blew it up was his claim that Will Smith knew about it and had even given his blessing. The story went viral instantly. Though the claim was never fully proven, the pressure on the Smiths skyrocketed, forcing them to respond. But they didn't do it through lawyers or PR teams, they went straight to the cameras. On Red Table Talk, Jada's own online show, she and Will sat side by side and faced it head on. Jada opened up about a time when they were separated and admitted to what she called an entanglement. Sitting right next to her, Will pushed for clarity, his calm face hiding a storm that everyone watching could feel. Jada eventually confirmed the relationship had been romantic, and the episode was presented as a moment of truth and healing, but the audience didn't buy it. What was supposed to feel raw and honest came across like something else entirely. As clips from the Red Table Talk episode spread online, people couldn't stop replaying Will's face, his tight smiles, watery eyes, and that forced calm that said everything words didn't. Within hours, the internet had turned his pain into memes. What started as curiosity turned into straight-up ridicule, and sympathy melted into mockery. What really got people talking wasn't just the confession, it was the imbalance. Jada came off cool, composed, and in control, while Will looked vulnerable, exposed, and stripped of the image that had always protected him. The confident, unshakable Will Smith had suddenly become a symbol of emotional collapse, and it played out in real time for millions to watch. From that point on, the armor around his public image began to crack fast. The silence that once made him seem strong now made him look powerless. Every time the marriage came up in interviews or online discussions, it added another hit to his reputation. Bit by bit, the authority and composure that once defined Will Smith started to fade away. So when he stepped on that Oscar stage in 2022, it wasn't just about defending his wife, it was about defending himself. That slap wasn't born out of one joke. It was years of bottled-up frustration, pride, and identity unraveling all at once. His sense of control had been under siege long before that night, long before his hand met Chris Rock's face.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk.
And while the world obsessed over the state of his marriage, another part of his image started shaking too, the family legacy. For years, the Smiths have been held up as Hollywood's golden family, proof that fame, success, and good parenting could actually coexist. Will and Jada weren't just raising kids, they were grooming the next generation of stars, building a dynasty everyone thought was unbreakable. Hollywood was watching every move the Smith family made. Jaden Smith slid into the spotlight almost effortlessly, first walking in his dad's shadow, then trying to carve out his own lane. At first, it looked like destiny. His early movie roles showed talent, confidence, and that same spark that made Will a global name. But soon, that fire started to fade. The movie office slowed down, then stopped completely, and Jaden began shifting gears, diving into music, fashion, and creative projects where art mattered more than box office numbers. But with that shift came questions. His public appearances grew rare, his words more cryptic, his energy unpredictable. Fans started speculating about his health, his focus, even his sense of direction. What once felt like artistic independence began to look more like a slow drift into uncertainty. Then came whispers about Jaden wanting to leave home at a surprisingly young age. That detail alone wasn't a scandal, but it added to the growing feeling that the Smith household wasn't as steady as everyone thought. The image of a perfectly managed family, guided by love and control, was starting to crumble right in front of the cameras. Meanwhile, Willow Smith was fighting her own silent battles. Her path looked different from Jaden's, but it came with the same heavy price. Thrown into global fame before she even reached her teenage years, Willow had the weight of the world on her shoulders. The spotlight that once seemed like a blessing became a burden. Years later, she opened up about her struggles with depression and self-harm, bravely admitting how early fame and constant exposure had taken a toll on her mental health. Her honesty hit hard, and it completely changed how people saw the Smith family story. Suddenly, the power couple raising prodigies didn't seem so inspiring anymore. It looked tragic. Instead of a flawless Hollywood dynasty, the Smiths was starting to resemble another cautionary tale of fame gone too far. Too much attention, not enough protection. Too many cameras, not enough healing time. Through it all, Will Smith's role shifted from master of control to man scrambling to hold things together. The once invincible figure who seemed to steer his family, his image, and his empire now looked surrounded by problems he couldn't fix. There was no villain here, no malice, no neglect, just the harsh reality that perception in Hollywood doesn't wait for the truth. By the time people started looking back at Will Smith, they didn't see the unstoppable movie star of the early 2000s anymore. They saw a man under pressure, a father, a husband, a public figure taking hit after hit, each one chipping away at the power and confidence that once made him untouchable. The man who used to define control was now trying to rebuild it, piece by piece, under the harshest spotlight imaginable. When the backlash finally settled into something permanent, Will didn't fade away. He did the opposite. He tried something most fallen stars avoid, reinventing himself in real time. His new game plan was all about visibility, podcasts, deep interviews, motivational talks, and raw reflections. He spoke about ego, mistakes, and self-growth, trying to turn that Oscar night into what he called a painful but necessary lesson. His tone became thoughtful, almost spiritual, like he was trying to find peace through words. But the audience wasn't sure how to take it. Some people appreciated the honesty, but others thought it came too soon. Instead of healing, every new appearance reminded people of the slap all over again. What Will saw as transparency, others saw as performance. His calm voice and heavy philosophy made some question whether they were hearing true reflection or a carefully crafted act. The sincerity got debated non-stop, the timing got dragged, and his tone never quite matched the public's exhaustion. Just when people thought he might step back, he switched directions again, this time reaching for a younger crowd. Will started popping up with online creators, streamers, and digital influencers, stepping into internet spaces that felt foreign to him. But those moments didn't always land right. Sometimes he came off funny and self-aware. Other times it just felt awkward, like a legend trying too hard to connect. His effortless charm that carried him through blockbusters now felt shaky, replaced with nervous energy and forced laughter. Every gesture, every word, every smile seemed to carry the same heavy question. Was this Will Smith still the man he used to be, or just someone trying to earn his way back into the world's good graces? Nothing Will Smith did could ever just be anymore. Every joke, every interview, every post, every tiny move was viewed through the same lens, the slap. No matter how he said it or how he said it, the world couldn't stop replaying that one moment. His comeback attempts weren't lazy, they were full of effort, but the problem was strategy. Will treated his reputation like something he could explain or charm his way back into shape, but that's not how cultural memory works. Once the world locks onto an image, it doesn't reset just because you want it to.
It's a situation that I consider private.
You just feel like it ain't really nobody's business. But now Black Twitter has claimed it as their business.
You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided.
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we basically, we broke up.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship, absolutely. The only person that could give permission in that particular circumstance is myself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But what August was probably trying to communicate, because I could actually see how he would perceive it as permission, because we were separated amicably.
Yeah.
And I think he also wanted to make it clear that he's not a homewrecker. I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since I felt good. And it was really a joy to just help heal somebody. We ride together, we die together. Bad marriage for life.
Audiences don't forget on cue, and silence might have helped him more than all the talking. But instead of stepping back, Will kept pushing forward. Podcasts, events, appearances, each one meant to show growth, yet each one kept the wound open. The more visible he became, the more uncomfortable people felt. He wasn't blacklisted, but he wasn't embraced either. He floated in that strange middle space, still active, still famous, but without the power or comfort he once had. The industry saw it too. Producers hesitated, fans stayed cautious, and even his charm, once his superpower, now carried tension. The harder he tried to steer his own story, the clearer it became that the story no longer belonged to him. Every attempt to reclaim control just reminded everyone how much he'd lost it. That's when Will started circling back to an old truth he'd once understood perfectly. Sometimes the strongest comeback isn't noise, it's silence. But patience takes courage, and patience was the one thing he didn't seem willing to risk anymore. So when talking didn't work, he turned to where it all began: music. In early 2025, Will Smith shocked fans by announcing a new album titled Based on a True Story, his first full-length project in over 20 years. The title alone said everything. It wasn't nostalgia, it was confession. He framed it as raw, honest, and unfiltered, a chance to finally speak straight from the heart, no script, no spin. He even sought advice from hip-hop heavyweights like Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar, who reportedly gave him one bold piece of guidance: if you're gonna tell your truth, tell all of it. Stop performing the image, tell the truth. That's what the advice boiled down to, and Will Smith took it seriously, maybe too seriously. His new album dove straight into the chaos of his public collapse, tackling ego, shame, and that infamous night head-on. For the first time ever, he wasn't chasing universal approval or trying to please everyone. He just wanted to be understood. But when it dropped, the reaction was brutal. Critics didn't hold back. They called the album awkward, self-indulgent, and painfully unaware of how it sounded. What Will meant as reflection came across like defense. Instead of emotional healing, many listeners heard him still trying to justify himself. The vulnerability that was supposed to make him relatable only made him look stuck in the past. The honesty felt forced, the message repetitive, and the emotion, no matter how real, didn't land the way he hoped. Commercially, things didn't go any better. The numbers were low, the buzz died quick, and social media turned the album into a punchline. The comments were ruthless. People didn't hear growth, they heard a man still trapped in that Oscar night moment. What was meant to be therapy through music ended up sounding like another public breakdown in slow motion. Every lyric that was meant to set him free just reminded the world how far he'd fallen. Still, Will didn't stop there. He doubled down, dropping music videos and live performances packed with color, energy, and big visuals. It was loud, dramatic, and desperate to feel young again. But that's where the disconnect hit hardest. The tone didn't match the weight of his story. Too flashy for the pain, too forced for the maturity his audience expected. Instead of reclaiming his place in pop culture, it almost felt like he was shrinking inside it, trying to dance his way out of a shadow that wouldn't move. Music had once been his launchpad, the place where the Fresh Prince became a household name. But now that same stage showed the limits of his reinvention. The industry didn't blacklist him, but it didn't cheer for him either. His efforts were met with polite silence, cautious glances, and the same haunting question every time: was this real growth or desperation disguised as honesty? Today, Will Smith stands in one of the loneliest spaces a celebrity can occupy, neither fully canceled nor completely forgiven. His name still commands attention, but not trust. Studios approach him carefully, and audiences watch with folded arms, waiting to see which version of Will will show up, the legend or the man still trying to fix himself in public. Every red carpet, every clip, every post feels like a test he can't quite pass. But one thing's undeniable: the fall wasn't caused by just one slap. It was years in the making, the slow build of pressure finally breaking through the surface. That moment didn't destroy his career, it confirmed the cracks that had been forming for years. The image of control, discipline, and emotional mastery that once defined Will Smith shattered in a single instant, exposing the truth underneath. The man who'd spent his life keeping everything together had finally lost his grip, and the whole world had watched it happen.
What would you say to the people who looked up to you before the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? So there's two things. One, disappointing people is my central trauma. I hate when I let people down. So it hurts. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me. And the work I'm trying to do is I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself, right? I'm human, and I made a mistake And I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit. So I would say to those people, I know it was confusing, I know it was shocking, but I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world. And you know, if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
Once that perfect illusion shattered, everything that came after got filtered through it. Every film, every song, every word, no matter how genuine, was seen through the shadow of that single moment. Will Smith kept working, sure. Movies still got made, music still dropped, but the automatic goodwill that once followed him everywhere? Gone. The world stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. His intentions were questioned, his instincts second-guessed, and the man who once symbolized control now had to earn every ounce of trust he used to get for free. And yet, his story doesn't end like everyone else's. Will didn't disappear, didn't vanish into silence, didn't retreat to some quiet exile. He stayed visible, flawed, emotional, and exposed. He faced the backlash head-on, even when it hurt. That choice, to show up instead of hide, makes his journey messy, but also strangely human. It complicates the story. It turns him from a symbol of downfall into a man still standing in the wreckage, trying to rebuild something real. Time always has a way of balancing outrage with empathy. But legacy? Legacy gets defined by moments. And for Will Smith, that defining moment will never be tied to a movie or an award again. It's tied to that one impulsive act that flipped his story upside down and forced everyone to see him differently. What's left behind is a tough truth. In Hollywood, success doesn't shield you from collapse. Sometimes it speeds it up. When a persona built on perfection breaks, the road back isn't paved with apologies or staged comebacks. It's built on patience, humility, and distance. And those are 3 lessons Will Smith is still learning to live with, one day at a time. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Will Smith's downfall caused by one explosive moment, or was it the slow collapse of an image that was never as strong as it seemed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And when you're done, click on the next video, where we'll break down another celebrity whose carefully built legacy came crashing down in a completely different way.
Yeah, that was a horrific night, as you can imagine. At the end of the day, I lost it, you know. And I guess what I would say, you just never know what somebody's going through. It was a lot of things. It was the little boy that watched his father beat up his mother. You know, it's you know, all of that just bubbled up in that moment.